What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial, and today I'm going to show you on how to make a very simple picking up system inside Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be a very easy video to follow. At the end of the video you'll be able to go ahead and pick different weapons or items that are in the floor, and you will basically be able to equip them into your character's model. Alright, so now yes, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we are going to do is create the item or the weapon blueprint, so the one that we are actually going to pick up. So let me go into the content. I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new folder, go picking up a system, something like that. Of course I cannot leave spaces, so just forget about that. Go ahead, there we go. All right, so let's just right click in here, go to blueprint class, and this is going to be an actor because it's going to be placed in the world, right, in the scene. So I'm going to say bp underscore item, right, or weapon, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be generic, so I'm just going to say item, and let's just go ahead and open it. All right, so now let's go ahead and just integrate a simple model or something like that. I will control the model later, but just to get a taste of how it will look, I'm just gonna add a static mesh, which I'm gonna say item model. Right, you can call it how you want, but anyway. Now in static mesh I have already like a sword and put it in my project that I can basically use. It's a bit big, but I will tune it in later. But anyway, so yeah, I have already that done. So now what I'm going to do is just go again into the default scene root and just add a let's see, a box collision. So this will be our trigger. So when we are standing inside that trigger, so the player is standing, we'll be able to pick it up. Okay, so yeah, just create it in the box stand, maybe increase that like 50 50 and 50. You can play around that to get the values that you want. So all right, so what we are going to do is just go into the third person map, well, whatever map you're using, of course, and we're gonna go back into the content browser, and I'm gonna right click and go into blueprints, and I'm gonna create a blueprint interface. So this will allow us to communicate from our player to other item blueprints in general. All right, and we don't have to cast or anything like that. We can just communicate much easier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just put bpi for blueprint interface underscore let's see, items, whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and just open it. And now what we are going to change is in here in the function, you see that it automatically created one for us. So we just need to change the name. I'm just going to say pick up, right? But of course you can name it how you want. Now I'm going to just compile and save, and we literally just can close it. We don't have to do anything more. So now what we can do is go back into our BP item, and in class settings we can see that we have a interfaces section here. So we can just go ahead and place click and add, and then we can search our BPI items interface, and it will basically add it into our blueprint. So now we can go back into the events graph, and you will see that we have a section here called interfaces, and we have our pickup function that we created before. We can just right click and say implement event, and we'll automatically create it on our event graph. So it's much easier than starting to type and search it. We can just right click on here. All right, so now we're gonna place all the code that we want that will happen when we pick it up, right? So when this will basically be code. So in my case right now, what we're going to do is print a string just for testing purposes, and you say item picked. All right, and then what we're going to do is just destroy the actor. So you will go ahead, get print item picked, and then destroy it. Of course I will make it that you will equip it later, but just for now, to have the basic functionality, I'm just gonna leave it like that. So now what we can do is, I have a lot of code in here, but don't don't listen to that. I just watched another tutorials, but I can just go here into an empty space, right? So what we're going to do is just when we press E, we're gonna search for the item that we are overlapping. So I'm just gonna search E key. First you can put any key that you want or whatever, and when we press it, I'm gonna do a for each loop. So I will loop through an array, which is gonna be the get overlapping actors. and here I can put the class that we want to search. In my case, it's BP item, so it will only search us the items that are overlapping with us. So now in here, what we can do is implements interface, and we can go here and put our BPI items. So if the overlapping actor has the interface that we want, okay, it's gonna branch. This is just another safety, so we don't get errors in the future. We can just drag this and then say pick up, which is the function that we created for our interface from the array elements that we collected. So now we actually will be able to pick it up. So we can actually test it up. So you can just drag it into the scene. Right now, of course, the sort is too big or whatever stuff, but anyway, we can just press play. I can go here, I can press E, and you can see that we actually pick it up. There's a print in the top of the screen, which is just disappeared, but you can see how the we have just destroyed the actor, which is what we set it to happen on here. Alright, so now we can start adding more functionalities. So first of all, let's make that you can actually put any model that you want outside from when you place it on here. Okay, you're gonna tell me in a second. So what I'm going to do is just simple. I'm just gonna create a new variable on here in our BP item blueprint, and it's gonna be item model. Sorry, this is the same one, so you can say item model to place, for example, right? You can put whatever you want, and this is just gonna be a static mesh. Here it is, static mesh, and then you can say the object reference. Okay, so now we have created the variable that was basically we need to make it editable. So this means that it will be public, and we can access this from here. You can see that already up in here. All right, so now what we can do is go back into our item blueprint, go into the construction script, because this will update also in the viewport. Okay, not only when we are in the game, but also in the viewport. And what we're going to do is just drag our item model components from here, and you say set mesh, set static mesh, and basically what we'll get the one that we got it from the variable, and we can just put it on here. If you compile and save, you can see that it actually has disabled, sorry. But now if we go and choose it from here, we can place the model here. And this just makes it so much easier. So now we can just duplicate this one, put it in here, and we can, just say, for example, just for testings, just a cube, for example. And you can see that we have changed the model on the viewport in real time. And this just allows us to don't have to go into the blueprint and change it. And of course, if we change it, it will affect all the items that we have in the scene. So we can affect each one individually, and we don't have to create different blueprints for each item, which just saves us a lot of time and just makes it much better for our code. All right, so that's great. So now that we have these two items created, and you can change the model that we want to place, what we're going to do is basically that we're going to be able to equip them. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go back into our third-person character. Okay, just forget about the arrows that I have here. Anyway, so I already have like a sword created in here, so I'm just gonna delete this, okay, to don't confuse you. But anyway, this was from our tutorial that I have on equipment system, but this one is just more advanced because this one involves picking up from the floor and things like that, right? So what we're gonna do is just select the mesh, and we're gonna add a new static mesh, and this is gonna be our equipped item. All right, and basically in real time this will fill up the one that we have picked up. Okay, so now what we have to do is parent this into a socket. So for now I'm just gonna put a hand. I'll see if later we'll create a new socket, but anyway, just put it in the hand, move it a bit down so it's a better position, and we'll tune it in later. But for now we're gonna have to be able to place it in the hand. So right now it's empty, which is what we want. But of course, in here what we can do is we can go here and we can do a cast to BP item, which is going to be just the only cast that we're going to do today. And basically we are going to get the item model, get item model, here we go, and then we're gonna get static mesh, and then what we can do is simple. Just go into the equipped item, just drag it in here, and then set static mesh. So when we will pick it up, it will set the equipped item that we have in our hands to be the one that we actually collected. So this will actually work. So if I go and press play, and I go here and I press E, it should be in the hand. Now let's see, so what is happening here. Well, the problem is that we are destroying the object. So before we actually get in, so we can do is just destroy, oh sorry, before this we can use delay until next tick. So it will basically probably have time to go and pick up the item. It's because we were destroying it before getting the mesh. And now it works, okay? Yeah, I got a bit confused there too. I'm not gonna lie, but anyway, now it works. Of course, it's bad oriented and whatever stuff, but anyway, and you can see that I can get everything and place on the hands. All right, so we already have something working, which is really cool. So what we're going to do is create a socket in the player's hand, so we can actually go ahead and put it a bit on our, position it better, scale it better, rotate it better, and we can actually preview it. So let's just go and find the third person character skeleton or whatever your skeleton is. So I'm just going to go to characters, mannequins, meshes, and here we go. We have the SK mannequin skeleton. So let me go ahead and open it. So we're gonna do it in the right hand again. So in the skeleton tree, we're gonna find the hand R, which is hand right. I already have a weapon R socket created from before, but I'm going to create a new one. Add preview as, right click it and say add socket, and then it will create the hand R socket. Let's rename it to item socket. All right. So now we can just right click on the item socket, add preview asset, and for example, let's preview the sword. And now I actually can rotate it and place it how I would. So this is really cool. Let me see. So yeah, you can play around. Of course, I'm gonna do it real quick, but you can tune it in and make it look much better. So kind of like that, I think it will look pretty cool just for now. So we can go ahead and use save. Alright, so now we can go back in the third person, go into the viewport, and the equipped item, what we can do is just in the parent socket, instead of the hand R, we can look for our item socket that we created. Then make sure to reset here the location and rotation, so it's at 000, and now it should be great. So now if I actually press play, you can see that if I get the sword, it's actually placed correctly. Now let's see what happens. So you can see that the cube is actually being placed in the position where the sword was going to be. Well, that's not really a problem, as what we can do is create another socket. Now the best thing will be to create a socket for each weapon. So instead of this being named item socket, sword socket, a cube socket, so each item has its own position. So I'm pretty much going to do that just for the cube. And then you can add it as we go. Now you can try to create one that will be generic, okay, and make sure that the point will be here. But because the sword has the point here in the center, it just messes everything up. So I'm gonna create another one for the cube, and then if you add more items, you will need to create more. But you can try to create just one and try to have everything, all the items snapped into there. But anyway, I'm just gonna right click, add to socket. And this is gonna be the cube socket or whatever. And then I'm also gonna right click on the item socket before of the sword and just remove all attached items, so I can remove the preview. I could go back into the cube socket and just add the cube that I saw it before. Now I don't know which one was. It was something like this one. There we go. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and resize it, kind of like this. Put it over here like this, like I'm grabbing it or whatever. There we go. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger, so that's too big. I'm gonna change the snapping into 5, something like that, and something like this. I think it will be pretty good. You can of course tune it in. I'm just gonna make it quick, but yeah. So now we have the cubes socket too. So now we can go back into our third person character, and in the event graph, what we can do is, depending on the item that we got, change the socket. Okay, so I'm gonna do it in a way which, so basically just go here and do a branch. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just drag the static mesh in here, okay, that we got here, just write equals, and I'm gonna say that if it's equals to the item, let's see, sorry, for the sword. So if it's equal to the sword, so let me also place this more like this. Let me also move it a bit because it's collapsing with other code that I had to just put on here, and I'm just going to place this in here. Okay, so if the static mesh is the sword, I'm gonna place it on here, but if not, it will be, for example, the cube. Okay, I will show you how to make it so it will affect more items in a second, but so I will do this too. Okay, but instead of basically just doing it on here with the static mesh that I got, which also I'm just seeing that, okay, I just replaced it. What we're going to do is change the socket. So, and what we're going to do is, instead of using the same one, I'm going to duplicate this one and just basically name it cube item, right? And in the cube item, the socket will be then for the cube. And there we go. And then I'm going to change just the name of the equipped item to be sword item, because now it will be kind of more individual. Now, of course, like I said, if you manage to just get one socket working for all of them, so you know, the cube will be in a good position, even though for other weapons, you can of course skip kind of this process. But you know, if you having trouble with me that sword appears here, but then the cube is like in the wrong position, you probably will need to do this. So now in here, what we can do is just set the sword position here. So you just drag it and just do it in here. So sorry, the cube. So you know, use the cube instead of the sword. Also, what we're going to do is go into the sword item, set static mesh 2, and I can do this after. And basically, I'm just gonna set it for none. So it will kind of refresh. So I'm gonna copy this too, and just use the cube for the target. So because there are different objects, we need to kind of empty them. So now if I hit play, you can see that I can get the sword and it will be placed here, but if I get the cube, it will go and it will be placed as 3 in the hand too. So this is really cool. Now what you can do is, I'm gonna place this a bit better here. So if you have more than 2 weapons, so what we can do is just copy the branch here, and then in the false, instead of directly going here, we can just put it on here, and then this one in the true, and then you can just get the static mesh here and then do another equals. And for example, this will be for the cube. Let's see, I don't know which one was it really. I'm gonna get it exactly. All right, this one, and then go back here, and then I can click this arrow and it will be placed here, and there we go. So now you can, so basically if you want to add another weapon, you just duplicate the branch, make it for the false, and then just get the static mesh here, just equal it to another you know, whatever you have, just put it on the condition here, and just basically duplicate this, put it on here, and then set the static mesh to be whatever it needs. Which I just realized that I need to click it on here because it misspelled. I know that this part was a bit more confusing than the rest of the video. The rest of the video was pretty much straightforward. This is a bit more confusing, and I know that it looks horrible, but this is what we have to do right now to make it still a friendly beginner tutorial without going into, you know, kind of enums and arrays and things like that. Maybe the beginners will not control. But yeah, still, it's a very good control, and so yeah, you can now go ahead and get whatever you like. I think I just messed something up here. Yeah, you can see. So be careful, because I don't know why Unreal Engine sometimes just gets. So for example, if I had one and I put it on here, it might just delete the other line that I had. But anyway, so it's really cool. Now you can go ahead, get the sword, get the cube, and if I were to add more items, it will work. So I'm gonna do one more last thing, and it's first of all in here, you're gonna drag them here, And what they're going to, of course, you can delete the string if you don't want the message appearing, but anyway, what they're going to do is just make a quick animation. So instead of just disappearing, it will shrink real quick. So to do this, first of all, I'm just gonna go drag this and then set scale, and then we can see a lot of options. Well, we're gonna use the set world scale 3D. Now it created the default scene root, which is okay because it's the parent. Okay, so now in here, what we can do is just drag this into the end, and I just need to drag a timeline. So let me find a timeline. Okay, and this will be a shrink. So it'll be just a shrink animation, so it doesn't like disappear, you know, when we pick up the item. So now we will double click on here and add a track with a float value, and also will be shrink timeline. The length, I'm gonna be placing it to 0.3. Okay, so it will be really quick. Just to add some more, you know, it doesn't disappear, it looks better. So just right click, add a new key, select it, and then time, just press 0 and 0. Add another one, and then select it, and then time is gonna be 0.3, which is where the animation ends, and the value is gonna be 1. If I press now these two buttons, it will auto fit it, so it looks nicer. And then I can go back into the event graph, and you can see that we have a new float on here, which is the output. So let's just move this a bit on here, because now we need to drag this and say lerp. Lerp is just a simple node that will basically go slowly from one value to another one. Now we have to move this, so just go hold Control and move this into the alpha, and then the A, which is the normal scale, it will be 1, and B is gonna be 0. So now you can just drag this in here, and it will auto convert it. So now if we compound save, there's one last thing we have to do, and of course we cannot destroy it directly. So what we're gonna do is just a delay. Here it is, and let's just make it 0.4, so it will be 0.1 second more of animation to make sure that everything is represented. So if you just click play, I can go here, and if I do, you can see the animation was working. It just shrinks really fast, look, and it just looks much nicer. You can change parameters that you want, like the length, etc. And also I would suggest playing a sound, so you can just go here and just say play sound. I'm just gonna play 2D sound for now because we don't have multiplayer set up, whatever, so other players will not be able to hear it, whatever. And we can just say, I think there was a pickup. Yeah, there's an object pickup sound. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. And also one issue is that it will reproduce a lot of times, even though we have only pressed the key once. So there's a thing that we have to do first, and it's a do once. And this will just make sure that everything will be done once and not repeated. So now if I go here and I press E, you can actually hear the sound, and it's all working really cool. So yeah, that was it, guys. That's pretty much all the tutorial that I had for today. So guys, if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Leave a comment if you have any questions or other Unreal Engine 5 tutorials you want to see. Check out my channel, I have lots of useful tutorials as this one, so if you want to check out, you're totally welcome. And now, yes, with all that said, bye bye.